Welcome to Monday. It's December 20th, 2021. Welcome to the Day Weather Podcast. Well, folks, as we ramp up now into Christmas week, we're just 5 days away from Christmas, and it looks like weather-wise, it's not going to be very Christmas-like at first. We're going to have good travel weather through Wednesday. Really very little happening anywhere in the Intermountain West. It's going to be windy, but temperatures are going to be pretty mild, 40s, 50s, even some 60s in eastern Colorado. So very mild December weather is going to continue here for a little bit longer. So we're going to stay mild. Just watch out for windy areas. Now, snow chances are going to be really ramping up in the mountains. And for you folks west of the Continental Divide by Thursday and Friday, want to kind of put a bug in your ear for you travelers. What we're going to see is just very little or no problems at all through Wednesday with travel. But for the mountain areas and for the mountain passes of the West, for areas west of the Continental Divide to the Pacific and California coast, through the Great Basin, you're going to just start to have some driving problems as early as Thursday and Friday. And some of that could get out onto the plains, some of that, and we'll show you that here in a minute. The long term is looking colder, more active, and snowier for some. Also, beginning late this week, this weekend, next week, and the New Year's weekend, we're going to have a lot more to deal with winter weather across the West, the central areas of the United States, really all the U.S. Things are changing. Now, it's going to be a slow process at first. It's kind of one of these situations where it's just not one of those situations where you wake up one morning and everything's different. It's going to kind of ease its way in. But once it eases its way in, it's going to stick as we get to the end of this year and into the first week of 2022. Beautiful shot in Torrington, Wyoming from yesterday. Today was another beautiful sunrise in many areas of the West. As we take a look at the upper level weather pattern for today, this is the phase 1 of La Nina, meaning we've got a generally west to east flow across the nation, which means mild Pacific air is getting pushed off the west coast. This is what's going to make it mild. Now, we do have some pretty cold air riding along the U.S.-Canadian border here, but it's staying held up north. But there is going to be a little bit of winter up here in this area today and tonight across portions of Montana. So Montana folks kind of keep that in mind, but elsewhere there really won't be much going on. But notice the phase 1 of the La Nina begins to shift. Now, this is by Thursday afternoon. By Thursday afternoon, notice the blue here gets pushed back up more towards the Yukon and British Columbia, and we see the establishment of a big, strong high here up into the Aleutians in this west and southwest of Alaska. This is turning the jet stream and coming, at least initially, more in from the Pacific Northwest coast. Initially, this will continue to keep the coldest air more here as we get to the end of the week. However, as we go further on, this is for Thursday afternoon. This is for Thursday night. Notice this little punch south. It's subtle, but there's a little punch more south right here of a trough coming through. This is an energetic, very moist and cold system that'll bring a big round of snow to the mountains and areas along and west of the divide accumulating snow. There could even be some accumulating snow that gets out onto the plains. Now, this is through Christmas Eve, noon on Friday. The gray and the blue here and the oranges and the reds all representing precipitation. Notice there is a tendency, on the European model at least here, to get a little bit of moisture east of the divide. Not a lot, but some coming over the divide late Thursday into early Friday morning. We'll need to watch that. Notice all the blue and the yellow and the darker colors in the mountain ranges, back to the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades, and across the Great Basin. Convert that to snow. The majority of what I'm showing you here right now is from Wednesday night, during the day Wednesday, out here, translating as we get into Thursday night, and Friday morning, further east. So along Interstate 80, I-15, I-80 all across Utah into the northern Great Basin through the Sierra, we're going to see here at the end of the week some travel problems. Now notice out on the plains, we don't have much to deal with along I-70 or I-76 or I-80 across Nebraska. But notice there is maybe a little bit of front range snow Thursday night into Christmas Eve, Friday morning coming out onto the plains. This is a question mark, but we need to watch it for travel plans. It's going to be mountains and west of the divide where we're going to have the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day travel headaches. As we go into Christmas weekend, high pressure here stays anchored, and it will stay anchored for quite a while. Another cold wave and trough coming out of British Columbia is going to swing east and southeast. We may very well have another similar situation of mountain snow, snow showers and light snow on the plains as we get into Saturday night, Sunday of this Christmas weekend. However, the Arctic air, the really, really cold Arctic air is going to be here. And as you get along the Front Range of Colorado, more of a downsloping effect, so the cold air gets bottled up for a little bit longer or held up to the north a little bit longer. But by Monday, notice the high here builds and expands a little bit, and look at the jet stream taking a really big trip out of the north slope of Alaska into California and the western United States, into the northern and central Rockies. This is going to plunge in much colder air by next week, along with some areas of light snow. This is all the way out to January 5th. And look at this ridge of high pressure anchored there, just staying there with a big high forming in the Atlantic. All this blue right here, this is going to just be extremely cold Arctic air. If this forms along this boundary I'm drawing right here, this is a very cold pattern to take us into the first week of 2022. Really, coast to coast, this is a winter outbreak by the 5th of January. It's going to probably develop before the 5th of January, but it gets really well established by then. Look at these temperatures relative to average by January 5th. By January 5th, almost all of the country except Florida and New England is showing much, much below average temperatures. Here, these are 30 to 40 degrees below seasonal normals. I mean, these are sub-zero temperatures all throughout right here if this develops. So the writing is on the wall. Our confidence is growing that we'll slowly, through this Christmas weekend, into Christmas week and the week between Christmas and New Year's, will get colder, not terribly cold, but will get colder and more active. I see a lot of snow falling in the mountains and occasionally some, not a lot, but some reaching the plains. And then as we get into the new year, it just gets colder and colder and colder. Through January 5th, the 2-week period, this is the snowfall forecast. And look at the snow in the interior west, especially west of the divide. These are extremely impressive snow amounts. We're going to see a big upward intake of snow into the drainages of the western United States, west of the divide especially. And we're going to see probably between Christmas, let's say Christmas Eve, Christmas weekend, the week between Christmas and New Year's weekend, a lot of snow falling in the mountains, which will be great news for the snowpack, great skiing, great snowmobiling. Over the holiday period is likely after a really slow start to the snowpack buildup. But I see that really changing over the next 2 to 3 weeks. This also means that if you're planning skiing or snowmobiling over the holiday period, these very heavy snows mean we could have a really dangerous avalanche danger period of time between Christmas weekend, New Year's weekend, and into the first couple of weekends of 2022. Just something to remember if you're a backcountry person. We could really see that avalanche danger increase with this big influx of snow that's about ready to hit the western mountains. The plains is a different story. As you can see, there is snow showing up on the plains here over the next couple of weeks, and I think that will happen. But relative to averages, where the snow will be the most noticeable, it's going to be for you western slope folks west of the Continental Divide, and in the mountain areas. Have yourself a great Monday. We'll have more details for you tomorrow, especially for that Thursday night, Christmas Eve time frame, and whether or not some of that snow spills onto the plains or not. Have yourself a great Monday.